mom, dad, or whoever's raising the kids, what are you specifically showing, not teaching, not talking about, what are you specifically showing your kids on a daily basis when it comes to money? See, because the question was, what's the most important thing I can do to teach my child about finances? Be the proper role model behaviorally that they can see about money. Hey, welcome to What's Your Problem? I'm your host, Scott Farrell. Thank you so much for joining me today. As you can tell, we're not in the studio today. We get tired of being in there. I got the Liberace curtains on both sides of the studio. Hey man, it's fun, and I got the backdrop. But there's something about being out in the air and being out where we are today. We're located right outside of South Carolina and Georgia, right in the middle. We can't show it right now because of the sunlight, but Lake Hartwell's to my left, right here. And then we're at the clubhouse of the Currahee Club, located in Toccoa, Georgia. Great place, great people, wonderful town, lots of friendly folks. I'm from a small town, but the people here, it's the friendliest town I've ever been. I've been to the friendliest town in Florida one time. It says friendliest town in Florida. I don't remember the name of it. Not the friendliest town in Florida. As soon as I walked into a McDonald's, somebody told me to F off. As soon as I walked in the door, I stopped them and I said, "You see that sign out there? You see that sign? It says friendliest town in Florida." It's a lie. All right, so don't go there. If you see friendliest town in Florida, just keep driving. This is one of the friendliest towns in Georgia. It's a great place, great people. It's beautiful here. If you've ever not been up here, you got to come. If you've ever thought about joining a club, this is probably the place to do it. It's so tranquil and relaxing. That's why we're here today. All right, so I'm taking random questions from people here today. What do I used to do on the radio? People would call in with a cold question, I'd answer it. We're doing the same thing today. I have not read these questions, so I'm going to take them one at a time. We'll probably do one or two in this segment, and so let's see what the next question is. All right. What's the most important thing I can do to teach my child finances? All right, regardless of how I answer this, you could probably go on Money Magazine or Money.com, Google, DuckDuckGo, Forbes, Bloomberg's, and they're going to give you a different answer. Right? So this is one of those things where if you typed it into a Google search, you would probably have close to 90 million searches for this one question. All right, so I'm going to tell you from my standpoint, which I approach everything from behavior. So I'm going to approach from observables. I'm a behavior guy. I'm a behavior consultant. So I'm only going to go with what can be seen. So let me go over specifics about kids. If you want to teach your kids about something, and how do kids normally learn? Observation. Why do we do mentorships? Observation. Why do we coach kids? Observation. Kids will do what they see. 0 to 7 is how we're programmed. So our kids will mimic our behaviors. So they will do what we do, right? So there's a country song, "Dad, I Want to Be Like You." And if you ever want to wonder if kids hear and do everything you do, I was working on something in my sister-in-law's house, and I hit my hand with something, and I said a bad word. Well, my 2-year-old niece was in there with me. She's 36 now. She runs in the kitchen and she says exactly what I said. Okay, from the kitchen in a very sweet, loud, angry voice, I hear her mother yelling, "Scott!" What? Did I do something? Little ears heard and little ears repeat. Now she's going to go over to her grandparents and say the very same thing. Watch your mouth. And this was, good grief, this was 34 years ago. So, observable. So the question was, what's the most important thing I can do to teach my child about finances? All right. Are you ready for this? Drum roll. You be good with them first. Wow. I'm old enough to have been raised by World War II parents. My grandparents alone, Grandpa was born in 1900. So that tells you the lineage I had and how they related. So my mom and dad did not believe in credit. My mom and dad paid for their house before they built it. Paid for all of our cars in cash. We never had credit. I watched my parents make sure they could always afford it before they purchased it. If you didn't have cash for it in my house, credit was a non-issue. So it never happened. So I grew up with the belief that I should be able to pay for everything that I purchased. So I never had credit problems. As a matter of fact, good grief, I had to go get something to have credit. I remember my dad went to buy a car right before he died, and he couldn't get a loan because he'd never had a loan his entire life, and he was in his 50s. So he still had to write a check for the car. They wouldn't even give him any credit, wouldn't sell him one on time, anything. So let me ask you this question, mom or dad. It's not specific which gender asked me, it doesn't really matter. How good are you with money? What are you doing with money? Where are you going with the money? What are they seeing with you doing money? It's funny, I told my mom one time, and I think this is norm with a lot of kids. Mom, we've got plenty of money. You still got checks in there. You can write a check for it. You've got money. Not really the case, right? So are your kids listening to you bemoan about money, not enough month left over with the money, don't earn enough, do we own the power company, where's the money tree in the backyard, we're not the Rockefellers? That's what I heard as a kid, and yes, I have said that as a father. I understand that daddyisms are real once you have your own kids, and you see people, every light's on in the house, and you wonder, did you really buy the power company while you were asleep and didn't know it? Hostile takeover? So how are you with money? What are you teaching your kids about money just from observation? Are you paying on time? Are you in mounds of debt? You know, what's your car, truck situation? Do you have multiple cars, a huge mortgage, can't go on vacation, can't pay for anything, can't afford anything, always wondering how you're going to pay the next bill, can't go anywhere? What are they listening to from you? Because, see, that's how we learn. Why did I know not to get in debt? I watched my mom and dad non-existent. Mom and dad, I mean, I ended up selling the house I grew up in, but imagine today having the cash in the bank before you start the first foundational piece, and you've already got it paid for before you start. And then Pop would save up and then buy a new truck and then buy a new car, and there was nothing there. So I would see people in debt and I would be like, what's that? Is that a credit card? I've never seen one of those. Believe it or not, I didn't see my first credit card. Wow. What was it, 19, 20? Because I didn't understand what they were. I always had cash with me, or I wrote a check for it. So I did not know that there was a possibility of charging something, because I was never taught that. Now, if you ask kids, and I used to do a survey with the kids that I taught, and when I'm out somewhere, I'll ask kids questions to write books and do shows on. Are your parents in debt? Do you see your parents use credit cards all the time? Can they pay them off? And the kids normally, most of the time, yeah, mom and dad have a credit card, no, they don't pay it off on time, and yes, they're in debt. And then I'll ask adults, what are your kids learning about money from you? Are you in mounds of debt? Do you still owe everybody? Do you have multiple car payments, multiple payments on everything, and a mortgage? And the answer is normally yes. Not everybody, but most. All right, so what are we teaching our kids about debt? Right now, if you read any website, like I said earlier, probably 90 million views on this. What are the conditions of our world right now? What's going on in the world right now when it comes to debt? Most people are in debt. Most people don't realize how debt destroys them. Most people don't understand. If you hear voices in the background, we are at a golf course. So you will hear the sights and sounds today of the Currahee Club of people playing golf. So no worries, just roll with it. It's the joy of shooting somewhere live. But you have to think, since the world's in the most debt in the history of the world right now, in the United States, we're bought by somebody else. I mean, come on, man. There is no, what are you going to do about this mound of debt? So then I have to break it down and go, mom, dad, or whoever's raising the kids, what are you specifically showing, not teaching, not talking about, what are you specifically showing your kids on a daily basis when it comes to money? See, because the question was, what's the most important thing I can do to teach my child about finances? Be the proper role model behaviorally that they can see about money. But see, I approach everything from behavior, so that would be my approach. Now, feel free to go to Bloomberg, Money, any of these magazines, and they'll probably disagree with everything I just said. All right, but behaviorally, the best thing you can do is show them what they need to do. All right, let's go to the next question. All right, I'm going on a date. Uh-oh, somebody's going on a date. What's the most important advice you can give me? All right, so again, we have to have parameters here. Let's give it a gender and an age. How about that? All right, so let's do a female. Everybody good with that? Okay, everybody says yes. We're doing a female because they didn't put gender or age. And let's make her 23. All right, got a yes on that too. So she's a female and 23, and she lives, let's say she lives in Toccoa, Georgia. All right, so we're at the Currahee Club today. All right, so she's 23. She's born and raised in Georgia. All right, and she's 23 and from Toccoa. All right. Now, Does the gender really matter on a date for what you want out of life? No. All right. So the question is, I'm going on a date. What's the most important advice you can give me? Well, I'm going to back this up and give you some advice before the date. Okay. The most important thing you can do before you ever date anybody is know who you are in Christ. You got to know who you are before you can go couple or mingle or whatever with someone else. You want to know why you were created, what your purpose is, where you're going, and the direction of that, what your skill set is. And then once you know these things, what do you want? You don't ever want to go out with somebody you can't marry. Okay, let me go over this again. Don't go out with someone you can't marry. Why? How do we normally get married? Unless it's arranged. We've had friends that had arranged marriages in different parts of the world. Why would you want to marry someone that didn't want what you wanted? Okay, I tell guys this all the time. I know this is a girl, but I tell guys this all the time. Boobs and butt do not make a happy marriage. Eventually you get older and you got to grow together. You got to have something to talk about. All right, let's reverse that with girls. And recently I've got a book coming out, What Men Don't Get About Women. I interviewed about 3,000 women and 1,000 men on the 3 top things that the gender had to have to make it successful in a relationship and what they were looking for. Women wanted respect, they wanted communication and appreciation. All right, what do you think men wanted? Respect, communication, and appreciation. Same thing. All right, that being said, if you know who you are when you go on the date, all right, this is who I am. I know who my Creator made me to be. I know what my purpose is. I know where I want to go. I know the career I want to go into. I know what I like to listen to. I know where I like to vacation. I'm very steadfast in my church or synagogue. I'm going to go and do this. I want to do this. I'm going to vacation here. I'm going to travel to these 12 countries. All right, so boom. Now, before you go on the date, I'm going to give you the most important thing that you could ever do. Make out a list. I had 100 things on my list before I went out with my wife. 100 things, non-negotiables, that your next person, because we marry who we date, 100 things that next person has to have. If they don't have all 100, they're done. All right, so now I've taken endorphins out. I've taken pheromones out. I've taken boobs and butt out, or I've taken out wide shoulders and height out. I've taken out the wavy locks out. I've taken out his cologne out of the mix. And now it's broken down to what really matters. Relationship with God, where he's going, what he wants. Does he have things in common? Do we like the same music? Are we going to travel to the same places? Does his career or his purpose complement mine? Remember, if we marry who we date, then our 2 purposes have to commingle and they have to join together and they have to work together. And then God's going to take us on a journey together. Then we have kids and grandkids, and our kids are going to have kids and grandkids, and we're going to keep going with the cycle. How tragic is it that we marry people that we don't really like? So my next piece of advice, and I tell everybody this, it's not anything somebody who hasn't heard me talk on a radio or watch me on TV hasn't heard. Don't have sex. Oh my gosh, God, what are you talking? Oh my gosh, but I'm horny. What are you talking about? I want to have sex with this person. All right, stop. Hey man, you got plenty of time for sex later. Once you have sex with a person, especially on a first date, you stop with the list. So let's say this is 100 things on my list. Once I have sex with someone, I might as well throw this out the window, set this thing on fire. Why? Because every time something comes up, let's say we have a disagreement, what are we going to do to solve it? Save that for marriage. Okay, that works great in marriage because, all right, let's argue naked. Okay, you're not going to argue naked because it's just not going to happen. But before you get married, if you allow sex to creep in, you're going to try to solve every problem naked or any variation that you choose. So don't want to do that. You want to go ahead and get the list, stick to the list, and then, so now we're at the date. All right, so he's picked you up, we're at dinner. This is an interview. Man, you're interviewing this dude. Hey man, are you really what I want? He's not interviewing you, you're interviewing him. Are you really dating material? Do I want to give you a second interview with second date? Are you really what I want? Could you really be what I want? And then if you're a single mom, that really throws things into the mix. Could he be a good father? Is he a provider? Is he a partner? Could he be a business partner? Is he someone that I really enjoy being around? Will my kids like him? So many times we don't think through these things, and we try to start dating before we work out the prelims. It's equivalent of a band getting together. and they want to go on tour, but they never practice. How are they going to sound? Like crap. Yeah, I've heard those bands. So you don't want to do that. I used to be a vocal performer. You got to warm up, you got to practice, you got to put in the time. Same thing here. A first date is just that. It's a time to chat. It's a first interview. You look at their resume. What are they about? What are they doing? And then you see if they get a second interview. Okay, second interview, you get a little more in depth on that resume, and then you ask them more pointed questions. So by the time you get to the third interview, you probably got a good idea of whether you're going to hire them or not. Am I going to continue this person? Am I going to go out with them again? Do they have all the things? And then you go back. So what you do is you go on the date. All right, so you don't take the list and go, here, fill this clipboard out, fill out this questionnaire, and I'll get back to you. No, that's not how it works. And now you can go to the social media page and see what they're like. All right, if the guy's a hound dog and he's got nothing but girls in there, probably don't want to date the guy unless you want your heart broken and he's out with other women all the time. You got to see who he is. How does he interact with people? Number one judge of character that I have found. You go on a date. You're sitting across from him. See how he treats the wait staff. See how he treats the maitre d'. See how he treats ancillary people. That's how he's going to treat you and your kids or you. If he's sweet and kind to everybody concerned, same thing when people say, did the dog bite him or did the dog let him pet him? Dog's a pretty good judge of character. You can always take a dog with you. I don't suggest it. A lot of people don't want you to do that. But just in case, hit a kennel, adopt a dog, take it on a date. But in this scenario, see how he treats other people when he thinks you're not watching. Because if the guy's a jerk to the waiter or waitress or whatever you want to call it, server, what do you think he's going to be to you? He's being that way with a stranger. What do you think he's going to do when he's relaxed? All right, so let's say second date. You can see some of his staff or you're around some work people. How do they like him? How do they relate to him? Now, I don't put a lot of salt in parents at this age. Here's why. I didn't get along with my parents at all. So that if he loves his mother, he'll love me. No. I loved the women. I didn't necessarily get along with my own mom, but I had some great role models, my aunts, that were lovely. I had an Aunt Norma, Aunt Frances, Aunt Helen. They were lovely people. Aunt Peggy. They showed me love. My relationship with my mom was not a precursor to how I would treat women. All right, so now you've got that. So now let me go over this. I'm going to summarize for you. Before you go on a date, make the list. Figure out what you want, not what he wants. And then don't try to adapt to his needs and wants. What do you want? Who are you in Christ? What's your purpose, plan, direction? What's your skill set? Where do you want to be? Where do you want to go in the world? And then, most importantly, watch very closely how he treats other people on your date. All right, I hope that helped. I only got 2 questions in this segment, but I always try to answer them as complete as I can with cold questions. So, all right, so if you have any concerns, if you want some tips, if you want some resources, drop me a line. WYP Podcast is how you reach that. Now, you may have a problem, okay? We all have problems. That's what I do for a living. I solve them. If you have a problem and you want an answer to it, drop me a line. problem@wyppodcast.com. Now, next thing's the most important thing. Subscribe. You go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now. What can I promise you? That you get more videos. That's what I can promise you right now. Also, if you know someone in these predicaments, because these are questions that are real life questions. I tend not to do fluff questions, but I try to make the real life questions funny. Go ahead and share this with people. If you know someone that started dating, okay? If you know someone that's got to teach their kids about finances, go ahead and share the video with them. I mean, hey, it's what, 10 minutes? That could help their life. All right, so, and maybe it's you. So hopefully this has helped you today. All right, thanks so much for stopping by. Thanks so much for spending time with me. What's your problem's going to be here to stay? What we're going to do is we're going to solve your problems for you. Oh, I'm sorry. It's right. It's not your problem. It's your friend's problem. It's that other person that you know. It's never us, right? All right, so WYP Podcast is how you get in touch with us, and problem@WYP Podcast is how you send me your issues that you want solved. All right, I'm Scott Farrell, your host. I'm going to sign off now from What's Your Problem? I'll see you next time. Take care.